If you spend 120 days, about 4 months every year, you don't have to do any calculation. The more money you have, the more you have to worry about the situation. I tell everyone you should have a company in the US. The US is the most pro-business country that I know. So here it's very easy, I should say, to start. What is the problem with businesses in the US? It's competition.
Hello, billionaires, and welcome to our podcast. We are here with João Gomes from Drummond Advisors, and we're going to talk about accounting today, right?
And taxes.
Nice. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, my friend. Appreciate it.
Nice. Let's explain a little bit of this business that is kind of like shady to everybody. It's difficult to know about this subject, so let's see how we can add. And we have here with us Luis, our partner.
Hi, everyone.
Good. You said it all.
That's all for now.
Good job.
Nice. Thank you, João, to come here. It's a pleasure for me to have you here.
Thanks for the
we work
invitation.
at least, I don't know, maybe 7 years now.
7 years together.
Yeah, at least. So
Perfect
it's a pleasure
number.
to have you here,
My honor,
talk with
friend.
our customers and everybody that you can see
Thanks
here.
so much. Thanks for inviting me. Feel honored.
Nice. So yes, let's start like this. So we're gonna focus a little bit on foreigners. Americans, they already been doing this tax thing for a long time, but Luis recently moved to America, and he had many doubts and questions about accountability and taxes and everything. Even though he has business in America for a long time already, but it's always tricky to bring your family, to do all this things you have to do, the changes and everything. So if you can go over for us about the process and how it works if you live overseas and you decide to move to America, what should you do tax-wise so you don't get in trouble, you don't get high tickets to pay and
Yes.
penalties and things like that?
Yes. Well, Bruno, it's like Luis said, we've known each other for 7 years. And the one word I would say is planning. Planning is the key for you to pay less taxes or even avoid taxes. Tax avoidance is a word that it's in the tax code. It's not illegal.
Okay.
So if you look in the tax code, they encourage you to save as much as possible within the law.
Yes.
So the key word is planning. What do these foreigners do? They plan, just like Luis did. Luis started this process 3-4 years before moving, and we've known each other for about 7. So what they have to do is look at everything they have, all their income sources, and find out what will happen if I just move to the US and get my green card or get my citizenship. What's going to happen with this money, this income, or this wealth that I built over my lifetime in my country, be it in Brazil, be it in Europe, be it anywhere in the world. So that's the important question that you want to ask. What's going to happen with this wealth, with this income, if I just move to the US?
Okay.
And that's the type of work that CPAs, attorneys, and that I do, is give you a picture. If you do nothing, this is what's going to look like. And it's terrible. Just like you're saying, the high ticket, it's going to be terrible. And then we're going to look at scenarios legally. The tax code is very thick. And then the tax code has explanation of the code, which we call regs. And then you have court cases. So it's very vast. It's very advantageous for anyone to understand the tax code. But you focus on the cars, focus on your business. We focus on the tax code so we can save you more money. So planning is the key word there.
That's great.
Nice.
And
I have a question to add. I think it's important to everybody knows because even with a tourist visa, if you spend more than some days, you can become a taxpayer here in the US, no? I think it's important to talk about, maybe a lot of people don't know about this.
They don't know that. The tax code, if you become a US tax person or a tax resident, right, you're going to file the same income tax return that I filed, that Bruno files, and that Luis files, which is the resident tax returns. The big problem for us is that once you become a tax resident, you report your income here, but if you earn income anywhere in the world, you have to report that income too. That's the big problem, let's call it. But
you have to report here.
Here in the US.
So you're a taxpayer here, but if you're making money in Brazil or Argentina, whatever, you
Switzerland.
report to America and
Yes.
you pay the
And
same.
you pay the taxes.
You pay American
Income tax.
Income tax.
And this
Exactly
could
right.
happen even if you have just a tourist visa.
Tourist visa,
Yeah.
yeah, because the two, very quickly, so we don't get too technical, but in the income tax world, you can become a tax person or a tax resident if you get a green card. That's obvious, everybody knows that.
resident.
But if you spend more than 183 days in the year, automatically, but there are some exceptions, and there is a formula. So the formula, even if you don't spend 183 days, which is about 6 months in the year, you have to look at the 3 years prior, the current year and the prior two, total of 3
So
years.
you can adjust.
And then you look at that, there is a little weight, there is a percentage that you take on the year prior, so it's not 100% of the days, but you can become a resident if you are a tourist and you spend more than 6 months in the US, you don't even have to do the formula. You become a tax
Yeah,
resident.
this is important to highlight because we have a lot of customers that have apartment here or a house,
Yeah,
so they
come a
come,
lot.
come a lot,
Yeah.
and maybe they don't know about this. No,
Exactly. And can I give them a tip? Free advice?
For sure.
Free advice? Well,
Free
they're
advice.
paying.
Free
so there's no
Drummond
way-
advice.
enjoy it because this guy is the best CPA in
Thank
US.
you. Thank you. So the advice is this. If you don't want to make the calculation of the 3 years, there is a weight for each year. If you spend 120 days, about 4 months every year, you don't have to do any calculation. So 4 months is the number for you not to worry about being a tax resident.
Yeah, because there's not only the immigration status that they have to worry, because they
true.
also
Exactly.
have to stay
Less than
more
that.
than 6 months there, but then more than 4 months here,
Yes.
you have to worry about
Then you
tax.
have to start
and
doing
nobody
your
knows about
calculation.
it.
Yes.
That's unbelievable. And how often they get people with that, like how much they stay on top, or
Mm-hmm.
how do they get this kind of tickets? Because I live here for more than 10 years, and I never heard about anybody saying
Talking about that.
Yeah,
It's-
they
IRS, no?
yeah.
Yeah, the IRS. That's a great question. Thankfully, for these people that maybe made the mistake of staying too long, the manpower is not there to audit everybody, because this will be known through an audit. But they don't have manpower to audit everybody that comes through the borders legally. So the people that are taking their flights, coming from Europe, coming from Brazil, and checking how long they stay. Immigration has that information. However, in today's technology,
It's not
who knows
connected
when
yet.
they're going to say, let's connect all the dots. Hey, immigration and IRS, let's be friends.
And they can go back 3 years at
They
least.
can go back 3 years. So right now you don't see as often, but that's something that can change anytime.
But
And I
that's the
guess
law, yeah.
It's a law.
We don't see it, but
Yeah,
that's
like
the
you
law.
said, most people don't know.
Yeah.
And the more money you have, the more you have to worry about the situation.
Yeah.
Just so everybody know, the IRS here in US is a Receita Federal in Brazil.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect. And then question about taxes still. I see a lot of people opening companies when they move here, even if they are residents, they can legally work, but they open a company to work through a company. What is the advantage of doing that? That's why so many people do that.
Great question. I tell everyone you should have a company in the U.S. The U.S. is the most pro-business country that I know. When we look in Brazil, Luis and you,
It's
Bruno,
difficult to
it's
open
so
a business
difficult.
there, yeah.
It's so
A
difficult
lot
to
of
deal with all
bureaucracy,
the
yeah.
bureaucracy, and everything takes long.
Yeah, and the most difficult is to stay alive. No,
Exactly. Keep your
it's
company
open. It's not so hard, but to stay alive.
Stay alive even worse. So here is very easy, I should say, to start.
Yeah.
What is the problem with businesses in the U.S.? It's competition. People say here is where everything happens.
It's the same rule to everybody, right?
Exactly. Same
Everybody
rule for
can
everybody.
open
It's
the
for
same
everybody.
business. Yeah.
Yes, easy for everybody. So everybody starts the business. But I tell everyone, you should have a business no matter what stage in life you are, especially because of taxes. Legally, you're able to get a much better outcome when you have a business than if you're just a W-2 employee. If you just have, if you go on your 9-to-5 job, it doesn't matter how much you make. If you make $100,000 or $1 million with a W-2 with salary, as long as your company does not prevent you from having a business because of some type of non-competition,
Okay.
you should have a business. You have some money, should have real estate.
So
you should have a
even
business.
normal employees, they can usually ask the boss to say,
Yes.
okay, can I work as a company
Yeah.
legally? They
Well,
open a company.
That's a little bit more trickier. That's
Okay.
trickier because there are some rules with the state and
Mm-hmm.
employment rules that once I heard from a real great tax person saying, if you want to change the outcome, change the facts.
Okay.
So for you to be able to tell your employer that you no longer wants to be a W-2, you have a business, pay my business, it's totally legal if the facts match.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's the key. And what I say is, even if you have a W-2 or work, or salary, whatever, as long as it doesn't conflict with the business or some type of contract, you should have a business,
Okay.
On the side.
On the
Or
side.
your wife, or if she can. And because that's where you have the most advantages in taxes, having your own
You
business.
can expense lots of
Exactly.
stuff.
A lot of stuff that with the W-2, there is not even a room for you to put a line and saying, I had a travel expense.
For example, a car. The
Yeah.
car that you use to go to the work and come back to work, you
Right.
can put the...
Exactly. I mean, opening a business, in the moment, if you don't have a business, you cannot deduct anything.
Yeah.
By having a business, and if you have the facts straight and the reasons behind doing that, let's talk about something very, very easy and that everybody talks about, meal expenses. If you
Okay,
are a
yeah.
W-2 employee and you take somebody for work and your employee saying, I'm not paying anything, you just have to come to work and that's it. And then at lunch you have 1 hour. But then you wanna get a bonus and you wanna bring more clients to your business. And you take the client and you pay out of your
You
own
pay,
pocket.
okay.
You don't deduct that anywhere. Now in a business,
But you can't even say, you can't send the receipt back.
but what if
To
your
your
employer
boss.
says, no, we're not expecting,
Ah,
you know
okay,
what I mean?
okay,
So
okay.
they can be like,
if you
really,
decide to invest on that, you can't expense.
you can deduct anywhere.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
But question, so related to that, so if you have that job that is paying you on a W-2, and you also have a business, but that business doesn't generate any income yet, right? Your income is from the W-2.
Right.
Is there an advantage of expensing that through the company, even though that company is not making any income? Can you still expense that? Or
You can
then-
always expense. The reason behind the expense is what will substantiate. So we call that word, it's a fancy word, but it's substantiation.
Okay.
You got to have substance behind what you're doing. If you just open an LLC.
No, for that lunch
Yeah, you
specifically.
can.
So let's say you came with your salary on a W-2,
Right.
Prospecting a new customer for your W-2
Right,
job,
right.
right? But then you have a company,
Right.
you have a LLC open.
Right.
You go ahead and you pay $100 for that lunch.
Right.
Is there any advantage of expensing that on the company or?
Totally, because I'm not going to give everyone like all the details on how it expensed. Because for you to expense it, like we talked about, the facts have to be there.
Okay.
But let's just pretend or that everybody knows what happened, why you opened the business, why you're having that. 100% legal for you to have that expense. So there is a tax code called the tax code where you can expense stuff. It's 162, code section 162. And all this says is very, very broad. It says that the expense has to be ordinary and necessary.
Okay.
That's what they say. Now we say, how do you define ordinary and necessary? And that's where.
Yeah,
that's
it's
where all
difficult
the
because I
art
remember
comes.
you asking us when you were revising our expenses,
Yeah.
and there was their PlayStation Network, and you of course thought that was not a business expense, but I
Exactly.
had to say, yeah, we have the simulators here, and we have to pay PlayStation Network. And
It's a great example.
Yeah.
It's a great
Yeah.
example. So you just, Bruno gave a great example about the facts.
Yeah.
So if the facts are right, it doesn't mean you cannot have an expense. There was one thing that
Even
used
if
to be a
they're
joke.
auditing, they are going to come and they're going to
They're
see that
seeing
in the
it,
company
okay, I
there's
understand. You guys have cars.
There's PlayStation
I'll give you an
Network
example.
here, yeah.
They used to be, everybody joked about, as a joke. They would say, hey, I'm just going to put my dog there and, and deduct like it is my
As a
child.
security.
As a
No, a
dependent.
child.
As a
Okay,
dependent,
dependent.
right?
Wow.
It used to be a joke. But then there were, over the years, talking about the facts and when he matches, talking about if you have, let's say you're a dog trainer,
Yeah.
or you have a kennel,
support dog,
right?
yeah.
And then you have, 10 German Shepherds on the yard. That's your business. Your canine business.
Yeah.
Or right here, you're gonna train 2 Dobermans and you're gonna put outside security dogs. So you cannot just say, oh, you cannot deduct a dog.
Well, they
You
are
have to
from the
find the
company.
facts.
They are the company's night security.
It's all about the
yes,
facts.
yes,
You gotta
yes, it's
have.
true.
If the facts are right, you can.
If
be
you ever get
deductible.
audited, you need to prove that you're really doing that.
Substantiation.
Yeah. Okay.
Substantiation.
Okay. Perfect. So that's
So,
how-
João, tell us about it. A lot of people, a lot of friends, entrepreneurs in Brazil said to me, Luis, you are crazy, man. you go to US, the most expensive tax in the world. So where is the most expensive?
Everybody talking about elections, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows about Trump's tax situation, I guess. That how does he pay nothing, or he pays 10% or 15%? So I disagree from the get-go that U.S. is one of the worst tax, places in the world. The tax code, because it's so vast, there is a lot of opportunity if you plan right. Again, coming back to your first question, it's all about planning. If you plan right, there is a way that you can pay 10, 15, 20% tax rate instead of 37.
Sure, but even if you are not playing, when you buy products here or service, it's
so
less
much
than-
cheaper. Yeah, consumption. So we talked about Brazil. We looked at all the cars behind us.
Yeah,
For those of
for
you that are
example,
not,
this car in Brazil.
Ferrari.
Yeah.
If you're not from Brazil, this is how much it costs. Just from simple taxes to get to Brazil, you're paying double the price in taxes. So you're paying 100%
Just in
tax,
tax.
right?
Just in
I'm not lying, and I'm not a Brazilian expert.
Without
in tax.
nobody's profit, nothing. Nobody
Nothing,
made
just
a dollar.
taxes.
Just the government doubles the
Just
money.
the taxes.
Just
Now you
the
have to
government.
look at your. So here.
So you're gonna pay 3 times more.
Three
This
times
is
more.
what costs for American
And how much
guys.
do you pay here, Bruno?
There
Seven?
it's more than 7%.
7%?
Yeah. No,
6%?
and for the business 0. For
Because
the
you-
business we buy the cars
Because
to
they're
work.
rental.
They're rental vehicles. We don't pay the sales taxes on the
Exactly.
cars.
And that's something when you're talking about in Brazil, it's the whole chain of taxes all the way to the consumer. Here, we pay 7% is the end consumer. Whoever is renting this car is going to pay the 7%.
yeah.
So,
the
I
client
think it's
will
a lot
pay the
fairer.
7%. Yeah.
Just the final customer, no?
There's the final cost. Another thing that most people from other countries may not know, in Brazil, income tax on the business, you have different, how do you call
Regimes,
those? Regimes. We call it
regimes.
regimes in Brazil, right? So you have, but the first 2 regimes, which is simple and
Lucro real, simples.
presumed profit. Presumed profit. They're on your gross revenues. For
Yeah,
us
it's-
Americans,
it's
we look at
unbelievable,
that-
man.
Unbelievable. We're like,
No.
what? What if I have a loss? No, you're paying on your gross
You
revenue.
pay on the
No,
gross
for
profit.
example, when you do an invoice, you pay at least 50%.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what. So
It's crazy.
Your friends, you tell
crazy.
them, I don't think I'm paying more taxes after all.
Exactly. If you plan, because if you don't plan, then you
the
have
problem.
lots of penalties here.
Yes.
And of course, there's always way around. Okay, that was a mistake. I will redo.
Yeah,
This
it's
is what I
fair.
did.
think,
It's
people-
something I really
we
love
complain-
here.
The
Yeah.
Americans complain about the tax system.
Yeah.
It's a part of any citizen of any country.
Yes.
But
Nobody
if you
wants to
compare
pay taxes,
Brazil,
yeah,
It's fair.
uh,
It's fair. You pay if you have a profit, you're going to pay tax, and there is many different ways for you to work around.
No,
it. So-
and you see your taxes being used. I mean, even if they waste
Yeah.
the money, you
No,
see.
no, don't talk about that.
Yeah, 10 police cars to get a cat on top of the tree.
Right.
It's the waste, but you see the money is
see
there.
the money. You
Yeah,
see on
you
the
see
roads,
it. Yeah,
on
you
the
see on the
public
roads,
schools.
nice roads, nice
That's right.
schools, everything. So you
That's
see
right.
where your money
That's
is
why
going
so many
to.
people come to invest in the
Yeah.
U.S. or move to the U.S. We're not talking about border issues, which is a big topic. We're talking about investors.
Yeah, legal
Money,
people that,
they
got
come here
the-
because of those reasons.
And for now, do you have a lot of customers come to U.S. investors?
It's never gonna stop. There are some waves
Because
that
now
more
the
people come.
the currency in Brazil, when
Yeah.
compared
How
to
many
dollar,
years you're working as
I've
a
been
CPA in America?
as a CPA. I've been in the accounting business since 2002.
2002, so
Yeah.
22 years.
Almost 22 years this year.
And is it changing the amount of Brazilians or foreigners
lot.
coming?
A lot.
Wow.
I think
but
foreigners.
you just turned 40, no?
Huh?
You just turned 4, no?
go for
Turn 40.
40. You
You
just
just
turned
turned 40,
40.
yeah.
A little bit more. Little more. I wish, man. It's going by too fast. But the foreigners or investors, they're always going to come. But there are waves of countries and different things like that. We talk here in the Miami area, Sunny Isles or Aventura. We talk about Russians, the Venezuelans, and now the Brazilians. So there are waves. They're never going to stop. But I think there are waves depending on what happens in the country. And the U.S. is always, for many, many years or maybe a century, has been, or more than a century, since it became a nation, I think it's always been a destination for other countries.
Yes, it's a safe place, I would
Yes.
say. Nice.
Yes.
We have some couple questions here. Tell us about, should international investors use an LLC corporation or another structure for their investment in Florida?
Yeah, I would say without giving an advice to a specific person, in general terms, a foreign investor should always have some type of entity structure, is what we call it, to own investments in the U.S. Very rarely I see any type of situation where a person, an individual, wanting to invest in the U.S. to go straight into their own names. So the short answer is they should always have some type of entity structure. As far as which one is the best, we have to find.
It depends.
It depends. Yeah, it has to be each situation. We have some
should
type
have.
of. They should have one. That's the main point.
And about the real estate, when somebody have some apartment or house here, and they will sell this home. So what this kind of structure can help with this, or even he pass away, something like this.
That's a great question. I think the main point there is tax-wise, there are some structures depending on the goal of their client. We may have a corporation. Depending on the goal of the client, the price of the home, you may have a flow-through structure where the individual pays the tax instead of the entity. So there are many opportunities for that investor. Regarding state tax is very important because an American or a U.S. person domiciled, if they live in the U.S., and they have, I don't know, $5 million in wealth or in assets, and they die, they pay zero tax because it's so high. It's 3.8 and change nowadays, the exemption. But a foreigner, it's $60,000. So that means
60.
they buy 60.
60.
So if they buy anything here in Miami, they won't find anything. I think maybe they can buy a couch for $60,000 for their Sunny Isles condo, but that's the point. They are very exposed. So the entity structure will help protect the client or protect the taxpayer or the person or the investor from, if anything, God forbid, happens, for them to pay maybe 40% tax on their whole estate in the U.S.
Nice, perfect. This is I always tell this to my friends in Brazil. There, we always listen some things about the tax, but what the people say, it's half true.
Half
not,
truth.
Not
yes,
the
the complete truth. That's a great point.
Yeah. So, for example, if you have a apartment or a house in U.S., if you pass away, you have to pay a 40%.
It's not like that.
Yes.
If you don't plan.
But is that half truth?
Half truth.
Yeah.
That's very important, Luis. I think that happens a lot. When you don't talk to the right professional, you're always going to have half-truths, and you should never make decisions based on half-truths.
Yeah. It's like the government in Brazil wants to charge the distribution, the profit.
The profit,
Yeah. Because we don't pay nothing in Brazil, the tax, no?
Yeah,
they want to charge
everything's
this now.
tax-free.
So, and they said, in U.S., you pay the distribution, you pay the profit. Of course you pay the profit. I pay just 7%
Yeah, exactly.
of the tax when I sell something.
And that's the half-truth as well.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Depending on the type of entity you have, you do not pay tax on your distribution. So it's a half-truth.
Yeah, it's perfect. Nice. So, João, we are talking about some benefits that you can have when you have a business, no? So you know about our club, the BM Club USA. How can owners of the business can enjoy these benefits? Is it possible or not? What they can do?
Excellent. I think that's exactly what we were talking about before regarding the facts. So we joked about some examples, like the dog, right? That we said, hey, well, people say, oh, you can never deduct a dog. And then we talked about the security dog and everything else. And then he was talking about the PlayStation fees.
For the business.
Same thing for the business. So I think what's important is have the substantiation, falling within the tax code, which is 162, ordinary necessary business expense. And that's why some of your clients, which you don't even know, when you look at the contract and you put in their contract, they're not putting their names. They're putting their business name on the contract with BM Club. And that's why, because they found some type of business purpose for being a part of the club and joining the club. Either they're going to give it to a client or take the car to show houses if you're a realtor.
Perfect.
Or a lawyer, whatever is the situation, but it's probably you having some type of business purpose.
Yeah, we have some members like brokers. the real estate brokers, the realtors, and private banks are using our club as well. So it's very interesting. No?
Yeah, I think that's the point. The point is they saw some type of business purpose. They found that within the code, they will be able to deduct that expense.
Nice. So maybe can we say that the costs with the club could be free? Maybe
I don't
something
think
like
it's
this,
100% free because that's a misconception that people understand.
Yeah.
But you have a big discount. So it's something that you need and you pay less taxes on. And that's what I tell a lot of people. I said, you don't create an expense to save taxes because it's not 100%. What do I mean by that? If you pay 30% tax, if that's your bracket, right? And then you say, João, I don't want to pay 30% tax, so I'm going to spend $100. Well, you're spending $100 to save 30. It's not smart,
yeah.
right? But if you have to spend $100, let's say we're talking about the W-2, and you cannot put that $100 deductible anywhere, you're going to have to spend $100. Why not spend $100, but really you're spending 70 because you're not paying tax on 30. That's the point of tax deductions.
Perfect. Excellent.
Thank you very much, João.
My pleasure, my friend.
You answered
Thanks
so
for
many
inviting
very
me.
important questions. Yeah, that
I appreciate it.
Even things that I never thought about asking before. So
Yeah.
I hope it made it clear for everybody. Hope you guys enjoy. Go ahead and follow Drummond. If you're ever thinking about moving to America, these are the best guys that are gonna be your right hands here for sure. So
Bruno enjoyed to get a free construction, no?
Yeah, he liked it. He's going to use it.
free consultation. Yeah, they give great free consultations, especially when you give them rides.
Yes.
Good.